Hi, guys. We'll try take two. It is Reverend Dr. Michelle Walker with you, and this is Empowering Intuitives Explored. And tonight we will have on a different guest than scheduled because life happens and it teaches us to be prepared and have multiple things available, right? So I'm just waiting a few minutes while people come back in. We're going to have our wonderful guest join us here in just a moment. So, guys, this is welcome. Guys, use the chat. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Share this out with your friends and followers. And I'm going to welcome in Elizabeth.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's great.
Yay!
And I don't have my earbuds in, but if you need me to, let me know.
No, I think it's good. It is good. Hi, guys.
Yay, we're back. Yay!
All right. Hi, Awakenings. Hi, Donovan.
Hello, everybody.
Does it sound better this time? Hopefully. We got rid of that extra feedback. An echo. Wonderful, guys. Well, thank you so much for supporting us and coming in. Tonight we're going to have a laid-back conversation with my wonderful guest, Elizabeth Sampson.
Hey, thank you,
I've
Michelle.
known Elizabeth for a few years. This beautiful lady is a registered nurse, a very powerful healer, and very strong intuitive. And I love her journey of how she slowly through her intuition and through her work as a nurse and with her animals developed her intuition. She has a YouTube channel where she does intuitive art. She's called the Doodle Nurse. Good evening, guys. Welcome. Come on in. And Elizabeth every week does this amazing intuitive interpretation and watercolors and doodles. It's just fantastic how she creates. And then through that she gives you a message.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that.
I love it. It's been a long time coming for you to step into your power and use your creativeness versus your intuition.
Yes. Yeah. And what I do is I'll just tell everybody what I do is I started out on Periscope a few years ago, and I would create with markers. I would just sit in a meditation and come up with a word. And when I came up with the word, I would place that on the middle of the paper. And when I did that, I would just doodle around it. And I noticed that there were messages in the doodle.
Not to interrupt you, but maybe can you turn your volume down a little bit?
Oh yeah, am I too loud?
There's still getting an echo.
I can put my earbuds in.
See if that works. Sorry.
We will try our best to get this going.
Technology.
All right, let's see if this works.
My original guest had an emergency, so that just taught us to be flexible.
Okay.
It only echoes when I talk. Well,
let's see.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
Okay. Can you hear me or no?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Does that better, guys? That sounds better to me. I don't hear an echo anymore.
Is there any echo?
Thumbs up. Are we good? I think we're good. I don't hear an echo now.
I can hear you, and I don't hear any echo.
Perfect. Woo!
Yay! It worked.
No echo now. Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
We're gonna have to remember this, Michelle.
I know, for the love of God. So for those of you that are following me now, years ago I used to do Periscope, and that's actually where we met. Mm-hmm. Hello, my dear. And back then we worked on a lot of different platforms. We had Blab. This is a new one, StreamYard, and it's fun to work the kinks out of all these little things, right?
Learn as you go. That's what
For
we're
sure.
going. Yeah. Just
For
trust your
sure.
intuition.
So, Elizabeth, let's talk about what is intuition? Believe it or not, I've been getting this question a lot recently. And people that I thought really understood what it was. And when you hear things several times, that's my intuition saying, maybe people don't have a true understanding of it. Or my favorite is when I say about being intuitive, oh, no, 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 I don't have that. So, what's your understanding before I give my understanding of it?
My understanding of intuition is it's your higher self, your spirit. You're tapping into the guidance that is left for you in another dimension, another realm, or it's obviously right here, but we can't see who we're speaking to, or maybe we can. It just depends if you're seeing, but you're tapping into that all-knowing intuition and guidance that is driving you and helping you stay on track and on your path to where you need to be. And I was also asked, what is the difference between your intuition and a thought? And that was so huge that I was like, everything comes to me intuitively. And when I start to think about it and try to rework it, then it becomes my thought. So that's how I take it. That's how I see it. I listen to it all the time. Guiding me.
I like it when somebody presents the challenge of saying that they don't really understand what their intuition is, or oh no, I'm not intuitive. But for me, my understanding is it's our God-given ability. I agree that it's our part of our connection to source, that we tap into that intuitive mind, because we're still connected to our higher self, which is part of source. But it's funny when people think or hear the word intuition, they may associate that with, I'm not psychic. Well, it has nothing to do with being psychic. Like your intuition, we use it all the time, all day long. You get a gut feeling about somebody. That's your intuition. You have, maybe you hear, maybe you see spirit, but it is everything. You get just a knowingness. How do you get that? An inspired thought. That's your intuition. That's you tapping into your divine source, that's such a huge question. It's so hard to put that into words, right? Of it's just this or it's just that. It's just so much. Yes, it's all your psychic abilities, all the clairs. But it's that deeper, tapping into that intuitive mind more than the conscious mind or the subconscious mind. You get down deeper into that connection. I agree with that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting into the heart. It's getting into the heart mind, that space other than the thinking mind.
Yeah, you get out of your humanness.
Yes, that's it. That's the word, humanness.
Yeah. And honestly, of all of the things that we can work in this humanness, in this human experience, our intuition is the most valuable asset that we as a human being have, as this divine being have in this human experience. The best thing you can do is learn to develop your intuition for whatever, just think about, I like to use some really cool examples that have happened to me. Like, I remember one day I couldn't find anything. We all had that experience, right? Like you can't find your keys, you can't find this, you're just, there's all these delays, right? And then you get this feeling like, I think I'm going to drive this way. And you can't explain it. You normally go one way and you always go that way. But you're like, maybe if I go this way, it might be a couple minutes quicker and I'll go this way today. And, then to later find out that if you would have left on time, went their normal way, there was an accident there, right? So you're getting those intuitive hits, I like to call them, without even realizing that you're getting them, because we just, in our heads as humans all the time, we don't stop and breathe and think about those things, right?
Right. Yeah. It's listening to the guidance that's coming through for you. And like you said, in traffic. Like if you've ever been driving the car and you hear turn right, you just turn right and you know you're not supposed to go that way. But you just turn right and you're avoiding something that could have been not good for you.
Sure. Yeah, and I like what Jojo says. It's the inner voice and the feelings of wisdom. And Kelly says, I believe the meaning is personal for each person. That's true.
Oh,
absolutely.
that's
based on how you're able to connect to the spirit world. Well, that's a great, I like that. Yeah, that's really cool too. But everybody is intuitive. Everybody, whether you want to own it or not, it's your divine right. It's part of your makeup. And what you do with it is up to you. And that's based on lots of things.
Right. That's true. Yeah. We're all intuitive. We all have the abilities. It's listening to it. We're taught in this society not to listen to our intuition. And Michelle, being, from being a nurse and being a caregiver, and you have that sense that you better check on your patient. You better do something for them. And you always come in at the right time. Or being the mother and knowing when your child needs something. You just know, and that's your intuition.
For sure. And I love that because people find that very relatable. Even fathers, moms, and it's that parental, they're being really quiet, something's up, or something just doesn't seem right. You might not have all the answers, but you trust that intuitive hit in your guts that I don't know what it is, but it's just not right, And so it's so important that we learn to listen to the subtleties of that. And, my book, The Empowering Intuitives, we talk about that in the first chapter. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because people that have read it go, oh, I didn't realize that's what you meant. Oh, they see themselves. It's relatable. And it helps you then kind of get rid of that stigma, right? Of using your intuition. In Salem, you would have been branded a witch. If you know too much, people are like, how do you know that? Or it's not always the society to accepted into society when you know too much. But now it is. But years ago, maybe wasn't. So people kind of really don't know what it is. But I love the example that you gave about, as a nurse, that totally is true. You just know something's off. You're going to just go and check on them. I mean, if you're lucky enough to hear spirit and see spirit and work with spirit in that way, then fantastic. That's really going to help you with your patients. But if you don't, you still always have that, maybe their input and output isn't right. Something's not right here. There may not be a science behind it.
Yeah. How many times have you walked in just at the right moment?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Or the alarm goes off and you're walking in, and it's like, okay, this, they needed me here. I'm here right now, and I mean, it happens so many times to so many healthcare workers that they don't realize that that's their intuition. They don't realize it.
For sure. EMTs, any healthcare provider can relate to this, for sure.
Yeah. And parents. Like you said, parents, definitely parents, know.
Well, and even I like watching the younger children because, Hawaiian tradition is allowing them to set their own kind of boundary, and they learn to trust their intuition from a younger age. There's something really fascinating. We had a conversation in my developmental circle about this. Kelly might remember this, but it's about allowing them to honor. And instead of in our American society, we hover over our kids and no, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't. Where it's more like we'll observe, we gently have the boundary so that they don't get hurt. But it's also the understanding that if they do get hurt, they're going to learn from that and correct and use their intuition a little bit better the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just different mindset or philosophy, and there's different cultures believe it in different ways. But I find it is really interesting that they learn to embody their intuitiveness from toddlers, which is fantastic.
They have it. I mean, if you've been around, I watch my grandson all the time, and if you've been around them a lot, you can see they're communicating with spirit. They're tapped into their intuition. They have the knowing, and it's just taken out of them as they grow up and they conform to the norms that we have here in our society. It's just removed from them. It's the same thing I talk about in art when I'm doing art. It's like, does the rose have to be red? No, it doesn't. Does the grass have to be green? No, it doesn't. And we conform them to it in our society. So they lose all of that ability. Well, they don't lose it, but they don't lose it. I'll take that back.
They
don't
dim it
lose
down,
it.
I think.
They dim it down. That's the word for it, because it's always there.
That nature versus nurture.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Oh, that was in your book, wasn't it?
Well, that I don't remember.
I don't know. Was that in your book?
But, you know, it's true, though, that that there is that shift that occurs because you want them to, you know, like you said, follow those societal norms and not just go with the flow and be that intuitive child. And that's one thing I really like about private schools, even though we all can't afford to do that and send our kids there, but they really allow them more of a luxury with their intuition and following their gut instincts, which is a kind of a neat thing. But so let me ask you this. What would be a surprise for people to realize that they are intuitive? Like we're giving some examples, like that gut feeling or a knowingness. Like, what ways would you think? Like, I think there's some where you just have that inspired thought. Like, it just pops into your head, you know? I like to call it like that ticker tape across the bottom, and you just get these random thoughts and ideas. That's your intuition.
Yeah. The breadcrumbs that you follow are intuitive guidance that's being thrown your way so that you can follow your path that you're supposed to be to the next step. And so, yeah, those are inspired actions or incapable probabilities or whatever you want to call them.
Right. So what are our followers? What do you guys that are listening? Feel free to step in the chat and put your feedback in. What do you guys think intuition is? And what ways are you using it in your daily life? Like for me, you know, I work with spirit on a daily as a medical intuitive, you know, with my patients. And then in my readings. And, you know, I think one of the fun things is once you learn to trust your intuition, you can build it. It's like those intuitive muscles. And years ago, well, I remember the one time I was sitting at the nurse's station and I'm charting away, you know, that's our big thing to do. And I go check on this guy that was sitting down the hall. And I look up and I thought, oh, something isn't right. And so I got up and I went over and I thought, they told me I felt like I needed to listen to his heart. And I'm listening to his heart. It seemed okay. He didn't look okay. And then boom, his heart flipped into AFib. And so it was just like the most random thing, right? So, you know, now they do it. It's kind of crazy. Like I had somebody come in, they thought they just had the flu. And they just, I don't know, they didn't look very sick at all, really. Like their presentation, no belly pain, bowels were moving fine. They just kind of felt tired, thought maybe they had the flu. No fever, no chills, none of that. And I thought, oh my Lord, what the heck? And as a doc, I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Spirit said they're about to have a bowel obstruction. I said, get out of here. And I was like, really? And I was like, okay. So I went over and belly wasn't distended. You know, I'm thinking, it doesn't fit the bill, but I trusted it. And I said, Mom, I said, I know this is going to sound really crazy, but I need you to go straight to the emergency room from here. And I said, I'm afraid I think she's going to have a bowel obstruction, and you need to tell them that. And sure enough, as soon as they did a CAT scan, they rushed her to the surgery.
Wow.
And that wasn't me at all. But, you know, I had this 15-year-old, she's 15. And she came back to me and she's like, they told me if I would have went home and stayed at home, that it would have been a really bad outcome. And I'm like, holy crap. So, you know, it's really valuable when you can learn to trust it and work it. And, you know, just avoiding accidents. Or, you know, I get this gut feeling like, nope, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, If I do it and then it goes awry, I'm like,
I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Do you guys ever have that aha hindsight? You're like, man, I knew I shouldn't have done that and I did it anyway.
I've had that happen to me so many times before, and I think you're right on when you're saying trust it, because so many people think it's just an overactive mind.
Yes.
That's what they think. It's overactive. They don't think it's their intuition. They don't know it's their intuition. And so I always say, trust on the fact that it's your intuition. And then if you're going to try to rework it in your head, then it's your mind.
That's a great way to put it. I like that. And, the other thing is I tell people to write it down. I used to get the most random, crazy things. I would just write it down. And then whenever something would happen, I'd be like you just did earlier, was that in your book? And I'd go back to my journal and I'd be like, I know I wrote this somewhere. And then I'd be like, oh, there's something to this because I got that on that date. And then it's, you begin to get that validation from your daily life.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Or tell somebody. I think that for me personally, I think that was the hardest thing because I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being wrong. And I didn't want to put that out there and be like, they're going to think I'm crazy if I tell them this, So when I learned to just say, look, I don't know how I know this or why I know this or what, but I got to tell you this. And what you do with it is yours. And then I stopped owning it. And I thought, oh yeah, that feels so much better because then I don't have to make decisions. I don't have to do those things. I just have to trust it and pass it along. Like one time I got this in the middle of my day. I mean, I'm seeing 25 patients. The middle of my day, I get, you need to call your sister's father-in-law and tell him he's not to be working with any power tools this weekend because if he does, I saw him slice up his leg. And I thought, I don't know them like that. I can't call them up and just say this to them. So I said to my sister, I said, look, this sounds crazy, but I'm going to just give it to you. So I gave it to her and I said, do with it what you will. She immediately called him up and told him, and he goes, oh, that's crazy because that's what I was going to do this weekend. I was working on a do-it-yourself-at-home project.
You go.
I got a free pass for the weekend and courtesy of your Michelle, So it was just really funny that he trusted it without even thinking. Because he's like, how does she know what I'm doing? And, he avoided whatever. But I mean, that's a stretch to put that out there. But once you don't put it out there enough and you document it and then you see these things happen, then you start to go, okay, now I need to use my words and be that channel for the divine and just let it flow.
I think when people are starting out, it's a fear of failure, a fear of making a mistake or imposter syndrome or any one of those things that come in when they're thinking that this is nuts. This isn't really what's supposed to be happening. How am I going to know? That's not really going to happen. And they don't trust themselves to speak up. So learning to speak up is
huge.
That's huge. That's a whole nother.
Well, it is because honestly, now think about it. What you say has a powerful impact to people.
Exactly.
And to yourself, It could have financial repercussion. It could have emotional repercussion. I mean, there could be so many parts of it, that you have to take into consideration. But I think the biggest thing is to learn to, however you get your messages through dreams, and you work your intuition that way. If you're just getting that information just dropped in, if you get those really strong gut feelings, work that, whatever you get. And everybody gets something. Everybody gets a lot of it, but the one is usually more dominant. And start working that way. And start having a conversation with your higher self. Have a conversation with your angels, teachers, guides, and spirit that are trying to help you. And ask them to help strengthen it for you. And just kind of like work it every day. So like one thing I'll do in the morning is I'm like, I spirit pick my jewelry for the day. And so each piece has a different feel for me or
Mm-hmm.
a different resonance of what my day may be like or what challenge I may need based on the different stones. And so when they pick my stone, I'm like, really? Like, okay. I'm always like, well, this will be an interesting day. This is what they're having me wear. So, but it's fun and just trust it and go with it. Or the other fun thing, you and I, we both, do Reiki, and I really love
Mm-hmm.
working with the chakras and the colors and the vibration and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And again, that's been built up through our intuition. I like to say, Spirit, pick my color for the day.
Yeah.
That's fun because you just like, okay, pick the color that we're wearing. And then that tells you that, either A, you need to really, like today they picked blue. So yeah, of course, we're going to be talking a lot today. And, and earlier I needed to use my voice a little bit more in a situation. So
Yeah.
it's always fun when you can interact, right? I try to make it playful and fun because then it's not tedious and strenuous working it. Like if you're going to work out to lose weight, you're not going to do something really boring, right? You want to do something fun that helps build
Right.
those muscles and build it.
Right. And I like what you said about Spirit, help me pick out the color today, because I think that's so important, because you're sending that message when you, like with your stones, you're sending that message moving forward. I'm all about color, of course. So for me, that's important. It's a very important thing, is to tap into that. And when I do Reiki, it's all about color, and the vibration of the color. So that's how I find out where the trouble spots are, is through color. So that, and the hot, cold feeling that I get.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
So
just listening.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And trusting.
And trusting. It's the trust. It's all about trust.
It is. It really is. And building that friendship. Like, okay, so think back, when you've been put in a new situation, whether it's a new job, as a child in school, or, anything new, right? It's uncomfortable, right? Change is uncomfortable. So what do as humans? We want to build a connection, right? We want to find a camaraderie with somebody and have that connection so that it settles us and we have that feedback and that bouncing back and forth, and we can laugh and we can do all these things, right? It's the same thing with your intuition. It's scary, it's new, it's unfamiliar. So start talking with your guides and start building that connection and that friendship and that communication so that it makes it easier to do it.
Yeah. And I think, if it's something that you're really not wanting to put out there, like you put out there with the gentleman about the power tools, if it's something that you don't want to have, all you have to do is talk to him and tell him, I'm not ready for this right now. Let's not venture this territory. Set your boundaries, move forward. And the more comfortable you become with it, then you can start letting that stuff in.
Oh yeah, that's a great. A lot of people aren't going to do their intuition or develop their intuition the way that I did, and they're not meant to. And that's all. That's all great. Like you can use your intuition to help you pick out the food that you eat, the things that you buy, your daily life. You can use your intuition to give a one-up advantage on, should I buy this stock or this stock? And trust in your gut, or, however you want to use it. You don't have to talk to dead people. You don't have to, do the things that I do. It's not about that. It's about just daily life, how you can be more successful, whatever that means to you. Make it easier on you, make it more fun, make it, you use your intuition for everything now. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, like me too. Like seriously, everything. Like there's days, like I'll even pick in supplements. Like people always come to me like, what should I take? I'm like, you know what? It changes. Like sometimes I'll just be like, I don't think I should take this anymore. And I put it down.
Mm-hmm. I've done that before. I've done that. Yeah.
It really is magical when you really start to work it with everything, when you go in and out with every single thing. So Elizabeth, tell us a little bit how you're using your intuition to help people in your work.
I'm using my intuition through doodle art therapy, basically, and teaching people how to tap into their intuition, create a doodle, and then read it when they're done. Read those messages that are there for them, because I think when people aren't really knowing if they're hearing, seeing, spirit, the way to put things on the paper and then read the symbolism of it helps them say, oh, okay, maybe they can connect with, I heard that earlier and here it is on my paper, and it helps them own that they're really using their intuition. So that's how I'm working with people now, and showing them how to do that.
Well, I love it because everything that you said, and then they have the visual reminder.
Yes.
Which is like, yeah, that's fantastic, because we're so visual, whether we realize it or not. So that's really cool. I like that. And, that's fancy, learning how to draw art from our souls. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes.
She's fantastic. Follow her on YouTube. Make sure, Elizabeth, you put your link in there so people can follow you.
I can't do it because I don't have a thing to talk on this end.
Get out of
streamer.
town.
No, I put it in the private chat. There's a private chat, but I can't.
Okay. All right.
I can't put it.
I will copy that and put that over there for you guys.
Oh, there you go.
Look at
That's
that.
one thing they don't let us do is they don't let your
craziness.
guest type. There you go.
It's crazy.
Thank
we
you.
like it. So please follow her on YouTube. She's fantastic. And I love, and I've said this multiple times, and I know I said this to Jamad, I like that you use tarot cards to begin it, because I call it the gateway drug.
Yes, it is.
Because it really is, because it has the information on the cards, and you can go deeper as you feel comfortable. And it really is a great way to start working your intuition. I can't say enough about it. Follow the ones that you're guided to and work with them. And I love that you start to do that, because people that are more afraid to just be like, I don't even know where to begin. Tarot cards, oracle cards, any of those kind of things of a high vibration that feel in alignment with you, I feel like are fun to play with and begin to develop. They're just tools. You don't need them. You don't have to get them. But for me, it's about being that childlike wonder and fun.
I think it's breaking into the energy at a softer pace. And so when I use them for my readings, for the weekly readings or the monthly readings or whatever I'm doing on there, but I also used them in my spirit drawings that I did. And that was how I was able to connect and tap into the energy before really trusting my intuition to move forward. It was like a slow and steady step to move forward. So yeah, they're a great tool.
Well, I remember years ago now, on Periscope, I remember going, okay, fine. Okay, Spirit wanted me to be out there and doing, and I was like, okay, but I'm really afraid to do this. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll do angel cards. No problem. Like, it's a soft energy, it's the ease in. And I was doing those for a long time. And then somebody was in one of my broadcasts and goes, but I want to talk to my father. Aren't you a medium? And I was like, oh, I just got called out in the middle of a live broadcast. And they snuck that one in on me. And it was fantastic, because I was like, yeah, I am. Okay, let's try this. And because I kept saying, I'm not doing mediumship on this. I'm not going to be doing that. And sure enough, I was. So, it was fantastic to warm me up and ease me into it. So I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely a tool to use to start moving forward. So if anybody is not sure if they're hearing their intuition, then like you said, grab some divination tool to start, whether it's oracle card or tarot cards, and use those to start with.
Well, and I like how you said that with divination tools, because a lot of people use pendulums.
Yes.
And I think that's a fantastic way. Sig Longhorn has it's a pendulum kit. Love it. And he has this book, and it's fantastic. And I learned from him at Fellowships of the Spirit on pendulums. And I was like, well, I never even heard of them at that point, and I never used them. And I thought, even though I can hear, we're human. We tend to sometimes dismiss or be like, or we just don't want to hear what they're saying. I think that happens for me a lot. So I may reach for a pendulum and ask for clarification. And if I get the same information, then I'm like, oh, forget about it.
Yeah. I think when I was, when things were starting for me a long time ago, that's where I reached for. First thing was the pendulum.
Oh, nice.
Because I didn't have a crystal pendulum like this one. I had a washer. Did you ever use that when you were young? A washer on a string because it was weighted.
Yep.
And used that as a tool. And then when the cards came out and, all that stuff that I started, it's like, oh, I'm going to get myself a deck and play with them before I even moved forward, learned the deck, interviewed the deck, and decided this is my deck before I moved forward.
Well, it's funny that you say that about the washer and string, because that's exactly how I learned.
Yeah.
Sig, that's how Sig taught us.
The washer with string.
You can use anything. And, my necklaces, you take them off. You can use your necklace. I mean, you don't have to buy one. Like, you can use anything.
Anything that's weighted on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many neat ways that you can work it, And I like that you really can use your intuition to for anything that you want. Truly anything that you want. Relationships. Now that's a lot of fun when you really are in a higher vibrational relationship and you both are working your intuition and you're both present. It really makes you own your stuff and stay in your alignment and in your integrity, because there's no room for anything else, because there's just no getting around it.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, you gotta own it.
You have to own it, because they'll call you out on it and that's it. You're done. Even though, even with friends, and you're working together, and you get called out on stuff. And I think it's great, because this way, it's like, Michelle, you would say to me, okay, what was that you were getting? And I'm like, I wasn't getting anything. Michelle. And you're like, I know you were getting something. Just say it.
Yeah, for sure. And Kelly, the one time, it was so funny. Before Developmental Circle, I was like in disagreement with spirit and getting all kinds of these things. And I was just like not wanting to hear it. And the first thing she says in Developmental Circle is, like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because Spirit's saying you're not going to listen anyway. They just got done talking to you before we came on here. And I laughed so hard.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and that's the great thing, that other people will pick up on the same thing, and that can validate and confirm your own intuitive thoughts and impressions and symbolism and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So I like this. Kelly says she used one time in a bind a paper clip.
A paper clip.
I love it as a pendulum. It works.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Jamad. The community keeping us on our toes. For sure. That only enhances your intuition. And when you're in a group of like-minded people, that enhances your intuition because of that reason alone. It keeps your vibe, raises your vibe. It also keeps you more accountable, because someone's going to go, BS, and, it's just a different way of being when you really work it and you're trying to walk it. They always say, talk the talk and walk the walk. But when you're walking it, and you have other people walking it, it's so much fun. It's just so much fun to me. Anyway.
It is. And I, like your developmental circle is so beneficial for people that are just starting out to come in to feel a safe environment that you're walking into, to be able to trust and say what they want to, what they're getting and bring it out there, because there's no judgment, and I think a lot of times in society, we're worried about people judging us.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, like you said, it's a safe place to land, and there you can not be afraid of being judged or being wrong, because every intuitive that is a practicing medium or practicing doing things has to do their own continued development. Just like any professional, you have continuing ed, that's a requirement, right? Well, developing your intuition is infinite. So it's never ending. You're always going to work it. You're always going to continue to build and build and build and strengthen. And who knows what we can do with this? We don't even have a clue what we can do with this yet. Mm-hmm. So that's the fun part for me too, is that it just heightens and heightens as the years go by, you know.
And Michelle, do you find things getting at a higher level or moving faster now as time is moving on, like in this day and age versus where we were like 3 years ago? Do you feel these things, energies and stuff moving faster and faster?
I do. And I feel like what's happening is we've been hitting with waves and these mass awakenings, and people are awakening to their own intuitiveness, and they're not sure what to do with it. And it's creating a lot of spiritual crises because they're not sure. As these things happen, you begin to question things, right? Your beliefs. Right. You know, when I heard about past lives and I experienced these things, I'm like, well, that wasn't my belief before. And I'm like, now I got to rethink that. And so it's creating a lot of identity, because, you know, if we're wrapped up with our identity of our belief system over religion or spirituality or how we think the world works, and it's constantly shifting and evolving. And unfortunately, it's at an accelerated pace right now. So a lot of people are struggling with how to develop or what to do with it, or how you can, you know, enhance things in a positive, because with all the growth, there comes a letting go and a new acceptance of yourself in a different way. It's just like, you know, as we age, you know, we have to get a sense of humor about that, because it's not, we're not 20 anymore, and our bodies aren't the same, and we don't think the same, and we don't look the same, and we don't feel the same. And so you go through this different identity shifts, you know, each decade. I swear, like, it's not as bad, but like, I don't know, some of them it can be, but I just did the big 5-0, and so that one kind of hit me. I don't know, the other one's not so much, but yeah, so you go through this whole review of things, right? And so when you start hearing spirit or seeing spirit or realizing, oh my gosh, I'm really connecting in a daily, continual thing, it's like, that's crazy. That's so cool. And it's like, oh, I can tap in at any time, talk nonstop, and they're going to help me with everything. You know, it blows your mind, but it's true. And we're not down here like little ants or worker bees on the planet Earth. We're still connected, as you said, to our higher self in spirit. So time is accelerating. A lot of people are very anxious. They're not sure what or why, and they really have the whole process of awakening that's occurring. And that comes with deep reflection, senses of loss, senses of people kind of, you know, you don't fit in with the people that you once did. You're kind of like branching out. You're looking for a new tribe, more like-minded community. So there's so many pieces to it that's happening for a lot of people. And that's why you see so many people, anxiety, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to cope. They don't know how to, you know.
I think with the circumstances that we had the past year, I won't say what it was, but everybody knew you had to go in, you had to reflect, you had to be present in the moment. And I think that's where a lot of people started waking up, started listening to their intuition, because there was nothing to do. You were in silence. You were by yourself. You weren't interacting on a normal level. And so that just brings true how meditation works so well for people that are not used to being in the moment, people that are used to being in the external world and just living through their external circumstances that they're having and never going internal. And I think the more people that do meditate and the more people that do go internal, will start raising their vibration enough to be able to tap into those intuitions and start to learn how to trust. Yeah.
Well, and I think that it flipped people. Either they're still really fear-based and less so now, more awakened, but they haven't even begun to scratch the surface of that either. So
true.
I feel like this year is the integration of that. So this is the perfect time for people to really understand what is intuition and why do I need to know about this, and what can I do with it, and why is it important? But if you ask anybody that you would consider successful, and that doesn't mean just financially, that means happy in life.
Yeah.
That means finding stillness and peace and enjoyment and bliss and whatever adjective you want to put in there, and love and compassion for people. One thing that they'll tell you is their intuition is what helps them to be in that state of grace, in that state of bliss, because it's the divine energy that you're letting go of all of this, and you go more in that divine energy. And if anybody has ever experienced your angels, teachers, or guides straight up close and personal with you, you'll understand that divine energy and what it feels like. And when you work with your team, your spiritual team, it just enhances those feelings. It's like I get addicted to it. I'm like, let's just keep talking. I can stay in meditation for hours because it feels so good, and it does. That energetic divine hug that, there's lots of ways lots of things you can do to enhance. One thing I think was Reiki. For me personally, man, that launched me forward in leaps and bounds with my intuition.
Yeah, I think that did the same for me.
Because when you get those attunements, boy, it shakes everything loose for you to work through. And it really, that's why a lot of people become Reiki junkies, because you like the attunements to help you shift and grow. And it just propels you forward with your intuition.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I know when I ended up getting my Reiki master teacher, it was like that was the pivotal moment in, I think, when things started really opening up for me.
Because the whole part of Reiki is, I remember when I was first doing it, I would get these little symbols, and I'm like, what the heck is that?
What is it?
Or I was seeing dark spots and light spots and all of this, and I'm like, what is this? And so you had to learn to work with your divine team and trust your intuition, because I remember I was seeing crazy things. I'm like, wow, what is that? Beyond the colors,
Yeah.
And, when you're trying to be professional and giving a session, you can't be like, ooh, you won't believe I saw this lizard climb out of your solar plexus. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I gave a class one time, and it was to, there were some occupational therapists and some equine therapists, in this class that I gave. And there was a few of them that were in the class that were so afraid of seeing dead people. I'm going to see dead people when I learn Reiki. And it was just like, if you don't want to see them, just say, I don't want to see you. Turn that part off, and you don't have to. And I think people don't realize that they have a choice. They have the ability to choose, because we all have free will, what they will and will not see or hear, and you can turn it off or turn it on at any point in time.
But that's a good thing too, because it can be overwhelming, especially as this time is speeding up. It can be overwhelming when you're getting a lot of things, and so many people are empathic, so they're really overwhelmed with the energies anyway. So let's think about a really good advice. I think find a good mentor, find a good developmental circle, find some good resources. My book, your book, any of these things are really good about giving support and relatability and easy peasy step-by-step instructions to help you strengthen. And journal what you're experiencing in this life. And, like you said, meditation for sure. And if meditation is a challenge. You're not going to sit down and just be like, and you're in. No, it is a struggle for us all. It is a struggle for us all. There's days I'm like, man, this is fantastic. Other days I'm like, ping, 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 ping with ideas, and it's hard to shut it down.
I say change the scenery. If you're having a hard time, go to nature. Get out in nature. Hug a tree.
I love it.
Put your feet on the ground. Do some earthing, whatever it is. Get around animals. Animals are so important. They are so intuitive. Hug your horse, Yes. It's just like be with the animals, be in nature is another way to step out of the struggles of trying to sit down and meditate, or just change the room you're in. Get near plants if you're in the house. Bring the nature element into you, as well as the crystals and the candles and things that will help you relax and get in that moment.
Yes, Jamad, I told him about HemiSync. It's great for people that struggle with meditation. HemiSync is from the Monroe Institute, a phenomenal resource. But I like how you put that. I think if you think I can't calm down, I can't connect with spirit, I can't do that, I challenge you to go do one thing you love to do.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, like for me, gardening, singing, there's so many things that I love to do that my mind will just wash away and intuition just comes. Being in nature, being in the dirt, playing in like that right there, every time the worries fade away and spirit just starts.
Yeah. And for me, it would be painting, doodling, drawing, grooming my horse, things like that. Those are all things that set me in just downloads, constant downloads.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because it's really important that we utilize our creativity to help strengthen our intuition. Yes. And so, Kelly says being in water. Yep. Yes. Journaling is amazing. A little sage burning and let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, Kelly.
I love sage for sure.
Sage and water. Yep.
Yeah.
It's all around me.
I love it. I love it.
Just got to reach for it.
So guys, you don't want to miss. You want to make sure that you check out Elizabeth Sampson's YouTube channel, and she has all her links and things in there. She gives you everything to help you doodle along with her and read, and it will strengthen your intuition, I promise you, as you go through that with her. So, and then tell me about your book.
Oh, yes. I did a book based on love, because I did a bunch of love meditations on my YouTube channel, trying to find what unconditional love was for me. So Here's my book. It's Love Is. It's a 30-day reflection journal and guidance. So it gives you a prompt on what the day was, and the next page you will have a journal page. So that's what it looks like. And there's prompts so you can write in. So if you haven't seen it, it's available on Amazon. Love Is 30 Days of Reflection. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's a great book. And I love the cover. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So guys, I want to thank you so much, Elizabeth, for hopping in here as we launched this show. Each week we're going to have a different guest that's going to come in, and we're just going to talk a casual conversation about different topics that are important to you. So, let me know what you want to hear about. And this is all things metaphysical. So we're going to open it up. We love when you interact with us, because we want this to be about you and what it is that you really want to know about, and how we can help you, because there's so many amazing people that have come across my path, and I want to share them all with you. And they're just so skilled. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you, Kelly. The book has helped your friends and family connect with their intuitive abilities. Check it out. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Here's my book. Oop, there you go. Empowering Intuitives.
Here, I'll help you too, Michelle, because I have yours right here too.
I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you guys. I appreciate that. But yeah, so next week we will have another guest on, and we'll go through another topic. But please feel free to always comment on what it is that you want, because the show is about you, and it was just developed by Spirit to bring this to you, to help you grow and support you in this human life that we're all experiencing. So thank you again, Elizabeth. It's been such a pleasure. I love you so much. We're going to have her back here real soon, and we're going to talk about using our right and left brains the next time. We're going to talk about what that does.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Namaste.
Thank you.